I'm now live streaming here and I try to answer some questions. My producer, Nicole, told me I shall do answering questions and not only talking. And I'm ready to do that. Yeah. I'm here talking as well as the chairman of Austrian Committee for NATO enlargement of Ukraine, Kosovo, Bosnia, and Austria, of course. I just don't see where these questions are coming in. I have to learn that a bit, and I have to understand exactly how that works. Yeah, but I decided to be a live streamer, not just to make videos and tweets and to podcasts, but also to live stream. And now I try to understand exactly how that works. Yeah. That's of course something new for me in my age and time, but I'm ready to do that and to interact because I have learned that I shall not only attract. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have to see that and I have to understand if I do some kind of double. Yeah, so I see myself here now. That's good. That I have understood. And the question is, where can I read? See myself here now. That's now, of course, that I have kind of doublification. I have to check that. That works actually. And so I start now to understand how can I cut the audio here. So that we don't have any video. So that should be good. Yeah, very good. Yeah. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if not, I'm absolutely ready just to talk. I love talking. So I understand. There is some feedback here now. Hi, hello, yes, yeah. Of course, we are talking here about NATO enlargement, but as well as Euro enlargement, as well as EU enlargement. And of course, we are talking about the Euro enlargement and of course, OECD enlargement. We enlarge basically the free world here. And that's what I'm doing since years now. Now as well in this format, because my producer told me I have to do exactly live streams. And I'm 57 years old and I'm live streaming here. And let our fire rise and let's win all these questions. And here, my NATO flags are falling. That's of course not good. My studio setup is of course here in my home. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to have any answers. I'm ready for that. I just was now in a seminar integrated into Ukraine, and that was very, very good. I called for Ukraine to join NATO, to join the European Union, to join the Euro, to join Schengen, to join the Customs Union, to join our defense integration space, to raise euro bonds, 1 trillion euro bonds for the victory of Ukraine, to liberate Crimea, and not to have any kind of appeasement concessions or other defeats. And of course, to break all these negotiations. And the only thing we break is BRICS and Russia. I think that was logical. Yeah, this is now live. I can see myself here. So it's working, yeah? Exactly. So I start now streaming as a new feature next to my X account, which I'm actually very happy if you follow me on my X account, because still I think X is the best and the most powerful platform for global political communication. And I'm using it there with my 143,000 followers. And I also do now intensively the podcast, which I have done a very good interview with Andreas Umland just recently, yesterday actually. It was very good, and it's also basically there. And then, of course, I have now had this media success in Bosnia with my campaign for Dodik to be jailed in the USA. They have not done that, unfortunately, but I have basically called for that, and it was all over the Bosnian media. Thanks for the coverage. And that's what I'm continuing to do, breaking the enemies, jailing the enemies. And yeah, for Khalistan, I'm very in favor of federal India, but India has now changed towards a partner and ally of the European Union. It has been breaking with BRICS, with Russia, and of course, India is now in the free trade world, and that's very good. So yeah, I think we can work with India, and if they break this agreement, of course, or if they continue to work with Russia, I'm ready for Khalistan independence, but at the moment I will be not endorsing that anymore because India has now joined the free world. And that's what I like very much, and I'm very happy about that one. Yes, so we are basically in a strategy, the EU, the soft, and America, the hard power. America is, of course, now regime changing Iran. It will come, and then it will be coming as well. Then we are already signing up all for our free trade system. So we're systematically isolating or destroying the enemies of Ukraine and or bringing them in our camp, and that's working very well. And so Russia will be defeated. This financial breakdown of the UN, yes, well deserved. Mr. Guterres is a real big enemy of Kosovo and of Ukraine, and he has not deserved to continue. He will anyhow retire now, and the UN must be significantly, if not completely, reformed without Russia and China. And when the Board of Peace is the alternative, it's a possibility. But I still appreciate all the good work the UN staff is doing and the UN as an organization. But the way it was founded by Stalin in 94 was also in 45. It was, of course, a big founding mistake. And so I'm calling for massive reform. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think Mr. Carney, he is a bit of a showman. His speech was like a big show. The world order we have created in 45, it needs, of course, like all the world orders, they must be continuously reformed. You cannot keep it like it was in 45 or in 99. We must reform it. And the most important reform is, of course, to expel Russia. We should have expelled Russia from the UN Security Council already in the year 91, but we did not. And that was... and the elections in Thailand, I really have no information, honestly. But I'm ready to dig deep into it. Thailand, of course, should have a free trade agreement with the European Union, a global partner of the NATO and the OECD, and we should try that the Russian influence is minimized there. This is what all countries should do in the world. Yeah, Russia should have never got a veto right. This was a big mistake from the beginning because we didn't interpret the victory in the Cold War as a victory. And so from the beginning, the West tried to appease Russia, which was the biggest mistake. We should have from the beginning said, we won the Cold War, 91, you are out, and you will not get the UN security seat. Because to give such a revanchist entity, which was then later controlled by Putin, this power was from the beginning a major mistake, and I told you so. It was a big mistake. Yeah, this is what I can say to that one. Yeah, and what we need from UN reform, I made many podcasts about that one already, and of course it's very logical. We have a seat for the European Union, we have a seat for the United States of America and the Organization of the Americas. And we have, what I see. No, they can do that. They have already the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. I made a list of the so-called 7 hostile organizations. It's the Shanghai Cooperation, it's the BRICS, we will break it. We will also break the Shanghai Cooperation. It's the Eurasian Economic Union, it's the Shanghai, the CSTO, that's the 4th one, Central Strategic Treaty Organization, the anti-NATO, the anti-EU, and then we have, of course, the Commonwealth of Independent Nations, the G20, also an expression of appeasement, and then OPEC, and all of them must go. Seven hostile countries and seven hostile organizations. It's very simple. It's not that the world order is breaking or global shift initiative is necessary. Our world order is working. Our world order is based on human rights, property rights, security, on NATO. And of course, this is what we're gonna do. And we will enlarge NATO here. I think I made it very clear. You can see. Oh, my NATO flag is somehow disappeared. What's going on? I need some ticker tape again. Yeah, let's focus on the victory. What we need, all these environmental tasks are secondary. We have, from the green movement, always got this kind of the climate crisis is the biggest crisis in the world. That's not true. The task of the UN is peace and security. And this is the most important political challenge. Always it was war and peace and security is the most important question and not the climate. We must come back to reason. But of course, we have to have a reasonable, as we do in the European Union, aspect for the climate and for the natural preservation. But it's not the number one priority. It goes in a hierarchy. The number one priority of political action is always security, questions of peace and war. This is the number one priority. The number two priority of political action is always the economic and social well-being of the people. These are the first priorities. But of course, they are all connected, of course, with environmental issues, but they are the third level priorities. And this is the pyramid of public activities and priorities. And now it's, of course, much more important to focus on peace, security, and that's very important. I will support Gavin Newsom. Yeah, that's, I think, clear. And I'm sorry, I'm lifelong Republican fanboy, I confess, yeah. But I will definitely not support anybody from the Republican Party as long as they have not distanced themselves from the Epstein and Trump and Thiels and all this extreme basically Russian-controlled networks of hate of Europe and the West. So Gavin Newsom is the man. Yeah, I see a lot of questions here. Okay, some response. Yeah, Newsom, I think he runs California very reasonable, as similar to the European countries. And by the way, we are very reasonable people here in Europe, and we are far from what the MAGA right is describing us as flooded by immigrants, or I can show you Vienna. I show it on my video podcast. I show Vienna very often. It's a very beautiful city, and Austria is a very well-governed country. Of course, many things can change in Austria as well, from lower taxation, more competitiveness, but the idea of any kind of disaster zone is absolutely wrong. Yeah, there's a question about Korea. Yes, I'm happy about Korean unification. That's the plan. There's no doubt. North Korea shall not be a different state to Korea. Korea should be reunified and similar. I think actually it's very simple, like in German case. Yeah, so you have the occupied territory, because ultimately it's a Chinese-Russian occupied North Korea, and they will then be liberated. Actually, they will liberate themselves, and then it will be unification of Korea. Yes, I'm very confident that Newsom will be very, very positive for us. And it's the miracle of the world. You have always these extreme American presidents, and then you have one reasonable guy again, and then you have another crazy man. And the Trump area is basically over because he cannot recover from the Epstein scandal. Too many things are now in the public domain, and more will come, and he cannot recover from that. It's absolutely impossible. Great Britain, that's a good question. It's, of course, I'm very much in favor of United Kingdom to return to the European Union. I made many, many videos about this, and many tweets, and it's the only way for Keir Starmer to win the next elections when he has a global platform agenda. You have as a politician to have a dominating agenda, and of course migration is it for Nigel Farage, and if you put then rejoining on the agenda, this will change the dynamics, because it will be good against evil, Nigel against Keir. And of course, now we have seen that it was very bad decision to leave the European Union. Economically, we are now richer than the UK, first time ever, while we have taken 100 million people from Estonia to Bulgaria into the European Union. And so in average, of course, this is an absolute miracle that we have overtaken the United Kingdom, basically because they have left and they lost with it, and so that was a big mistake. And so the rejoining is the only choice for Labour, otherwise reform will have won. Yeah, I'm reading here the questions at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, the Korean unification seems to be a big topic here. Yes, I'm absolutely in favor. And it will come, I have no doubt. We waited 40 years for the German unification, and it came, and it will come as well. The EU was very good for Great Britain, and together we are much stronger, of course. Now everybody runs to China in a competition to bow to the emperor, but that's disgraceful. We should be united. If the United Kingdom wants to be rich and meaningful in the world as part of the European Union, it is very welcome, and I think that will be the future. Yes. The other questions, I don't see so many. Yeah. The future of the EU is also very clear. We must be much more united, not like the United States of America. That also needs to reform. You see, the United States of America must be dramatically reformed, but of course also we must change, and we must be more united, all in the euro. That's why I campaign for Sweden in the euro, for Denmark in the euro, for Greenland in the euro, for Romania in the euro. And you see all these podcasts of mine, and my X account is full of this, because more unity is the answer to the bully Trump and to the genocidal maniac Putin, and that's what we need to do. Yes, United States of Europe, we don't need to change the name, we just need to unify more. It is a little bit complex, because you have to see at the same time we must be giving power back in economic terms towards the region for their self-economic development. But on the same time, we must have the right mix between centralization and decentralization. And of course, you have to have the major infrastructure must be done on the European level. And of course, the defense must be done on the European level. The foreign policy must be done on the European level. There's also things which we need to do on the national level, but much more things we need to do at the regional level, especially economic development and the management of the land and all these things, and the social system. This must be done by the regions, and this is much more effective than also the environmental tasks to be done at the region. And our big problem is we have much too powerful nation states and much too less power on the regions and in Europe, and this needs to change. And also the taxation must be changed accordingly. Yeah. That's I answered. Very good. Yeah, Tony Blair, I like Tony Blair, but he went for the direction. Okay, very good. I see, now I learned this system. Me as a live streamer, that's new thing. Okay, I see a lot of questions coming in. Yeah. My basic assumption is NATO membership. We need to really have enlarged NATO, and we have to stop appeasement. So that means that Ukraine, Kosovo, Bosnia in NATO, Serbia isolated, very important. And about the elections, there's tomorrow elections. We must be obviously in Bosnia. We must all hope for the pro-European candidate. Yeah? And Dodik's visit to the US was a complete disgrace. And I was really shocked to see and to learn what they do in order to the people who have no idea about Bosnia, no idea of the Balkans, giving him then such an entry. This was really very shocking. Yeah. Yes, I think, the Epstein, you want to talk about Epstein? Yes, everything must be accounted for. Yeah, and this is absolutely necessary. It must be like a purging system of the American political, economic, and society, and also of the influence of Russia, obviously. All these things must be accounted for. And I think President Trump will be required to resign. He's already in a desperate position, and he is absolutely on the way out. He's handicapped. And what is the question here? I see more questions. Yeah. No, I think the Board of Peace will go down with Trump. Like many of his initiatives will go down. You know what we should learn from that initiative? That there's a lot of readiness to change the UN system, and we must confront Russia, basically expel Russia and China. And China must be negotiated with. If China wants to be compliant to the UN, it can be continue to be a big player. But the Russia at the UN was always a big mistake, a tragic mistake, and it has led to many problems. So then the Peace Council is not the answer. It should be reintegrated into the UN without Russia at the UN Security Council. And in the future, we should make it very clear, if somebody doesn't pay the membership fee or breaks the rules, he can no longer be member. So it's not a problem to expel Russia like we expelled Russia from the League of Nations in 1939 for the invasion of Finland, and this is should we do again. No, I don't. No, Mrs. Meloni should not be EU president. She should be the prime minister. She is making a relatively good job for prime minister of Italy. It's always a very complicated country, but she is pro-Ukrainian, pro-Kosovo, and to some extent actually. And so she hopefully will be keeping that position in Italy. She should do the flat tax for Italy, reduce the taxation rates, and make Italy economically grow again. But for the European Commission, she is absolutely the wrong person. I think the Plenković of Croatia is the man to be, and I will support him. Yes, other questions here? Let's see. No, Mr. Draghi is already relatively advanced in his age. He has written a very good report, but he is not the man for that jobs anymore. We have a number of young commissioners who can stay, and we have this process. And he is like an old wise man with his report, yeah? And we should implement it, because what we need, and I say that also since years, we need a unity in a united market, in capital, in labor, in energy, in defense, and we need the structures to do that. I think nothing is revolutionary or new in the Draghi report. I have basically called for years now for Eurobonds, for victory, 1 trillion Eurobonds. Maybe we need 2 in order to do the investment packages, to have similar fast trains like in China. That's only possible with European bonds and with European direction. And of course, we can do all these things united, and then united capital market. And, there's so many things in the internal market which we lacked energy to unify, in the railway market, in the energy market, in the digital market. And it's always the nation states and their probabilities. Candidature, that's very nice question. Somebody asked me if I would like to run for Prime Minister of Austria. If an offer is coming in, I will seriously consider, but in principle, I'm an activist, and I'm very happy with my role here, and I'm not, and it's very expensive to run for politics, and I don't have these resources, unfortunately. So I will be a podcaster and an influencer. That's very good. You can support me when you subscribe me on X. That's the most effective way, or also on Patreon, and also on YouTube. There's various forms of subscription policies possible. Yes, Fehlinger doctrine. Even somebody has Fehlinger doctrine is very good. Yeah, and we can discuss about that one as well. How we will ex-Russia. And I think our this year should bring victory. I'm always optimistic at the beginning of the year. it depends if we do the right things. Yeah, we must raise the money to win. We must supply Ukraine with everything we have, and we can. And I have made that case very clearly. And then we can absolutely move towards victory. And the key is to liberate Crimea, which we can do during the Iran liberation. I say very clearly, this is the opportunity now, and the Ukrainians are absolutely, once they have the green light and the supplies, they are absolutely, Crimea is very difficult to defend, and it is absolutely already prepared for the liberation, and that's what we should do. Yeah, but yeah, everybody knows that, yeah. The Americans will never leave the EU, and this is just a Trumpian fantasy. So they will maybe reshift some of their armies during the Iran liberation, but they will never leave us. We are basically united with the United States of America, and we have constant family troubles with them. But when the going gets tough, free Europe and free America form the free world and will work together. Yeah, should we enlarge the, yes, absolutely. We should enlarge the Eurozone 100%. So that's absolutely the priority for Bulgaria now managed to do it. Very good. I was so happy celebrating it. And thanks, congratulations, Bulgaria. And now we move to Romania and Poland and Sweden, Denmark, and the Czech Republic, and all countries will be, by the end of the decade, all countries in the European Union, and hopefully many other countries will be in the Euro. I'm very confident on that. How will the EU continue with the enormous debts of Western Europe, France and Spain? Yeah, we have to, of course, unify here some things as well. And the Southern Europeans have to be a little bit more fiscally conservative. And of course, specific tasks which France is, for example, shouldering, like defense and nuclear defense, we have to Europeanize. It's absolutely important. That will relieve the French debt already significantly. And when it comes to Spain, yes, socialism should be ended there. That is, I think, the best answer for that one. And we have not so much debts. We are absolutely, ultimately, with the euro, we are fiscally unbeatable, and we are in a very good position with this second reserve currency of the world and much more stability. You can rely on the euro, and that's very good. Yeah, the Brexit was a big mistake. I made that already very clear. And independence of Crimea, no, I'm not in favor. It's too fragile to be independent. It should be part of Ukraine, and it will be, and of NATO. Christos Bulgaria, I get greetings here. Canada in the EU, yes, I tweeted for that. That is absolutely my plan. What's my favorite country in Eastern Europe? I love very much Montenegro, Kosovo, Albania, Macedonia. These are my 4 countries. It's, Montenegro is maybe the best if you want to make holidays, and it's very beautiful. But if you ask me, Montenegro, yes. More questions coming. Yeah, I think the euro is already one of the reserve currencies of the world, and we are actually on that direction. And I think, with Ukraine in the euro, Sweden in the euro, Romania, and of course the United Kingdom and Canada in the euro, I think that's basically then we are overtaking the dollar in global significance. And Montenegro gets Montenegro. Do you like Montenegro? It's very good. It's very good. Very good. No, I think this is my first live stream, half an hour. I will do more of them. I'm happy to discuss the things which are concerning you here and answer questions. And no, I think that you should join NATO. This is basically my proposal, and that's what I will do. Thanks a lot. I will do some other activities now on some other platforms. I thank you very much for joining. Please, you are welcome also to subscribe and to donate and to support. And that's absolutely the case. And I'm very happy for this first format. I will screenshot that and share as a future activity of mine. Thanks a lot. All the best.